Irrational as they may be, we all have a superstition or two, whether it's a lucky pair of pants or an aversion to Friday the 13th. Superstitions are important to us because they give meaning to the often random nature of luck and put us in the driving seat of our destiny. Here, we run through the surprising cultural histories behind some of the world's most common supernatural beliefs. Knocking on wood. Now, any list of superstitions would have to begin with arguably the most well-known and universal superstition, to knock on wood. The actual origins and even meanings of the phrase are as varied as the cultures which use it, with some suggesting roots in the Indo-European or Celtic belief that spirits, good and bad, resided in trees who could either be called upon for protection or chased away by knocking on their home. Christians in particular, they link the practice to the magical power of the wooden crucifix. Most likely among the different theories, historians have attributed the superstition to a 19th century British children's game called Ticky Touchwood, in which young players claimed immunity from being tagged by touching the nearest piece of wood. Adults picked up on the habit and the phrase. The British still say touch wood today, and the rest is history. As with many superstitions, there are subtle variations and sometimes not so subtle varying origins. Italians, they touch steel rather than wood, perhaps more related to iron horseshoes, poles, and we have the Russians, they touch on painted wood. Turks knock twice. Latin American knock on wood with no legs, for example, chairs. It's best to memorize them all before traveling, okay? Throwing salt over your shoulder. Now, perhaps this is the next most common superstition. At least in the West, it involves tossing salt over one's shoulder. Like knocking on wood, this superstition also involves the idea of warding off evil, in this case, the devil himself. In Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, Jesus' betrayer Judas is portrayed as having accidentally spilled salt. So, therefore, the argument goes that throwing it over your shoulder would blind the devil waiting there. Since in other versions of the superstition, Old Scratch was thought to reside just over your left shoulder, ready to tempt you, the salt was thrown to the left. Still others say that the sheer value of salt alone in ancient times led to the belief that to spill it was to incur bad fortune, like among the Romans, requiring a corresponding ritual or act of penance to prevent worse loss from occurring. Walking under a ladder. The superstition of not wanting to walk under a ladder also has roots in Christian symbolism. The Holy Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit led to an association of the number 3 with something sacred. The triangle, with its 3 sides, came to be regarded as sacred as well, and a ladder, of course, forms a triangle. So naturally, to walk under the ladder would be to destroy the sanctity of the Trinity and thus incur punishment. The ladder's resemblance to a gallows also didn't help matters, nor did the fact of the obvious danger of something falling from it. Finally, the Egyptians apparently thought that one might accidentally spot a god going up or down on a ladder and so avoided it. Must have made building all those tall pyramids difficult, right? Broken mirror. The belief that a broken mirror brings bad luck most likely has its origins in the simple fact that reflections of ourselves are uncanny and often unnerving, particularly on a bad hair day maybe. So humans have long had bad associations with them. Take for example, the Greek myth of Narcissus, of the idea that a crack in a mirror would somehow break its charm or trap one's soul. It was the ancient Romans, however, who contributed the notion that a broken mirror would bring 7 years of bad luck, since it was believed that only poor health would cause a mirror to crack, and the number 7 was seen by the Romans as the number of years required to complete a full life cycle of sickness and renewal. As a result, a broken mirror meant you were headed towards a death spiral that might take 7 years to pull yourself out of. But then, those same Romans felt you could prevent that horrible outcome by gathering the broken pieces of the mirror and burying them by moonlight. So, should we really trust them about all the bad luck stuff? Step on a crack, break your mother's back. Another superstition involving something cracked or broken being associated with bad luck is the superstition of stepping on a crack as foretelling or even causing harm to a family member. As with mirrors, cracks in the earth, on a sidewalk, or almost anywhere have long been seen as portals to the realm of the supernatural, for both good and ill. To step on those cracks might be to invite or release unwelcome spirits into the world ready to do one harm. Lucky pennies. The idea that finding a penny would bring good luck also originates in folk beliefs, in this case based on the idea that metal, regarded by many ancient cultures as quite valuable, was sent by the gods to protect those whom they favored. Pennies being made from metal, find them and you'll have good fortune. But be careful. Some say the luck could break either way, and that if you find a penny tails up, you should turn it over and leave it for the next person, or you'll actually have bad luck. Lucky horseshoe. Another object commonly thought to be lucky is the horseshoe. Earliest origins of the horseshoe's function as a good luck charm resides in its vulval shape and the invocation of the pagan moon goddess Diana and her sacred vulva. As with pennies, metal being seen as both valuable and magical, iron in particular was thought by early Europeans as something capable of warding off evil spirits. And as with the Romans and the lucky number 7, horseshoes frequently featured 7 nail holes. The most famous story of a horseshoe bringing good luck, however, refers to the story of Saint Dunstan, who apparently worked as a blacksmith prior to attaining sainthood. The story goes that one day, the devil rode into Dunstan's shop requesting new shoes for his horse. Dunstan, recognizing the devil, played it off nonchalantly and rather than nailing the shoes to the horse, nailed one to the devil's foot instead. In agony, the devil agreed never to enter a house with a horseshoe nailed above the door if Dunstan would simply agree to remove the shoe. Friday the 13th. Like the number 7 for the Romans, magical significance has been attached to the number 13, but this time it's unlucky rather than lucky. The number 12 has frequently been seen as positive. For example, we have 12 months of the year, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 days of Christmas, and 12 tribes of Israel, naturally making its nearest neighboring number to the north negative. Like other superstitions surrounding the Last Supper, the 13th is also seen as unlucky because, once again, the great betrayer Judas was the 13th member of the dinner party that led to Christ's crucifixion. Like he had no chance, he could not catch a break. In addition, on Friday the 13th of October 1307, King Philip IV of France arrested and put to death hundreds of the Templar Knights. Black cats. Though cats have often been associated with good luck rather than its opposite, and were even worshipped as gods in ancient Egypt, things took a turn for the worse for our dark-colored feline friends sometime around the Dark Ages, when in 1232 AD, a papal bull by the name of Gregory IX declared them an incarnation of Satan. Things only went downhill for black cats from there, with people of the Middle Ages burning them in bonfires on holy days like Shrove Tuesday, the first Sunday of Lent, and even Easter, and with the Persians in America connecting them to the practice of witchcraft. Also, the color black has long been associated with evil and death, which didn't help matters for our furry friends who had the misfortune of being born with the color of night. Fingers crossed. The superstition of crossing one's finger bringing the luck comes from pre-Christian pagan times in Western Europe, when the practice of making a cross with your own and the index finger of another person was thought to concentrate the forces of good spirits and to seal a pact or a wish with the fellow crosser. Over time, though, people realized they could simply bless their own wishes by crossing their first two index fingers, and then later simply the index and middle finger of one hand, which is what we do today. Another narrative pins the practice on early Christians, who would greet and identify one another in secret with various symbols like crossing the index fingers, touching thumbs, etc., even though there is no explanation as to why this was in association with good luck. Chewing gum at night. Have you ever had an irrational fear of accidentally consuming dead flesh? Well, in Turkey, it is thought that after dark, chewing gum is magically transformed, like the Mogwai in the movie Gremlins, who turn into the titular monsters if they ate after midnight. The number of 4. So, as we've seen with numbers like 13 and 7, numbers are frequently assigned different magical significance or status, and this is depending on the culture in question. For the Chinese, the number 4 is anono, and this is due to the similarity in its pronunciation in Chinese to the word for death. Writing love letters to Juliet Capulet. In Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the male member of the doomed pair of lovers was known to frequent the foot of Juliet's balcony in order to send up his nightly entreaties and missives of love. At the Casa di Giulietta in Verona, Italy, where the Capuletti family supposedly lived at Via Capello 23, visitors can write their own love letters to and even rub the right breast of the nearby statue of Juliet. This is all done in hopes of earning her favor like the Romeo of long ago, even if the pair themselves were not so lucky. Curse of the Evil Eye. It's a common belief spanning the Mediterranean, Middle East, and South Asia that's been held for thousands of years, that to achieve too much success would be to invite the anger or inspire the envy of the gods, who would then smite the unfortunate individual with a reversal of fortune. In response to the fear of this curse, people across the ancient Mediterranean began fashioning amulets and beads with an image of an evil eye, sometimes referred to as nazars, which would then help ward off that horrible potential faith in the future. Tucking thumbs in inside of a cemetery. Like the fear of the word 4 in China, hinging on the similarity in its pronunciation to the Chinese word for death, the Japanese similarly tuck in their thumbs when in a cemetery visiting the graves of dead relatives. This comes from the connection between the Japanese word for thumb and its meaning as the parent finger. To tuck in one's thumbs inside a cemetery, then, is to protect one's parents from death. Giving yellow flowers. Like numbers, colors have frequently been assigned symbolic significance, like black being seen as the color of bad luck and red the color of passion. In Russia, yellow flowers in particular are seen as problematic as they are thought to represent infidelity, separation, or even death. Sweeping feet. If you happen to be on a cleaning spree somewhere in Brazil one day, you will want to steer clear of brooms, or at least be very careful. South Americans believe that if your feet are swept over by a broom, you will remain single for the rest of your life. The curse can be broken if you immediately spit on the broom. The exact origins of this superstition are unknown, but legend has it that a woman who cannot keep house does not a good wife make. Itchy palms. So depending on which of your palms begins to itch, you may find yourself in the Caribbean with a bit of extra spending money, or you may find yourself broke. It is a common belief that an itchy left palm means you will owe money soon, whereas an itchy right palm means money is coming your way. Cha-ching! There is an explanation that might tell us why such a distinction. So, the left hand seems to hold passive energy and the right hand active energy, which symbolically could explain the coming in and out of money. Okay, so we have reached the end of the video. Let me know what you think about it. Also, do you believe in superstitions or not? And if you do, what superstition do you find yourself using the most? Sound off in the comment section below. I thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves. One love.